Well, hi friends, are you ready for our weekly Lenormand reading? Today is Sunday, March 1st. It's 19 days until spring. I know that can't get here fast enough. This business of, 50-degree weather and then, snow and terrible driving conditions. Last night on our ride home, there was an accident that happened right in front of us. So, just be careful out there, people. The very first card out is what Spirit would like to speak with us about, okay? First card out, the fish. The fish are your day-to-day activities that bring abundance. It's also a finance card, a money card, and the picture that I took of the fish when I created this deck kind of has that little side eye to it. And, how I feel about money. Money is just a tool. I've said that. It's something that, it's an energy, right? We work with it. There's no value in that paper, right? But the things that do have value, tangible value, that's, like gold, silver, those type of monetary vehicles. That is kind of what I feel that this is about, this reading, because the snake is in the upper left-hand corner, then there's the cross, the fish are in the center, and it doesn't have a feel-good feel to it. But if you give it a feeling that, and of the positive aspect of that, then it has, I feel like it just gives it more value when you place that energy into something that is, that brings out the positives, right? So like charitable things, things that are value that last the test of time. My ring is in this portrait too, and that ring has, white gold, yellow gold. The wedding band of my grandmother's has platinum. I can't help but think that those are the things that, maybe if you're investing, those might be the things, the vehicles that you'd like to put your investments in, okay? Even the snake, that kind of gives that coil feel to it, which is kind of coppery. Then there's the garden, the fox, and the letter. That's, coming together in shared spaces with intelligent partnerships. And then the letter, which is communication, it can be in written form as well. And more than not, it's written form. But these are the things that bring value, right? So, I just hate giving paper money any value, because it's not worth the paper it's printed on. Especially our dollar has been devalued. I just feel like it's time to maybe not put as much emphasis on that. Okay, the ship, the gentleman in the ring, that's that could be like, especially with the fox, that could be some sort of an advisor, right? When it comes to commerce, when it comes to trade, when it comes to, career. So, check with your financial advisor, maybe give your investments, some careful consideration there, okay? All right, that's just the first portrait, okay? Next card out is the clover. The clover, that's the things that bring you blessing, and, it can be, it can be fleeting. So that's why I'm saying, maybe put things that, when we're back to talking about the other conversation, things that let stand the test of time. Because the clover can kind of feel like, it won't always be this way, it looks really good right now, but, it might be something that needs more careful consideration, okay? But the sun is there, so the sun, that's like a windfall feel to it when it's next to the clover. And then there's the anchor. The anchor is stability, security. It can be a little bit of finality. So, I say don't put any of your time or energy or intention into something that isn't going to last the test of time. The book, The Mountain and the Moon, that's your new phase, new stage. a mystery, something that hasn't been, you know, come to light yet. But I feel like that is happening right now. You know, once we get more clarity, then we understand a little bit better. You know, the new moon, the full moon, you know, those bring those sort of energies to them, the clarities and the, you know, dark side of the moon feel, you know, those are the things that you would like to know more information. So from a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for here? From a spiritual standpoint, the moon needs the sun to shine, right? So you need more information. You need more knowledge. You need more understanding before you make any sort of final decision, okay? Because the crossroads are there. That's my decision card. And then there's the child. The child is something new coming in, right? And then the house is, you know, it's the masculine energy, you know, so it'd be like the father role. You know, so, you know, this could totally mean, you know, our father, you know, it could be our spiritual father, it could be our physical father. But our home offers that stability, right? That's where you have, you know, people come and, you know, visit, and that's where you feel your safety. That's, you know, your foundation. That's your, you know, people that are close with you. So, you know, don't let just anyone in, right? You need to, you know, just, you know, the mountain's in the center, so I just feel like there might be some sort of a delay or a challenge or an obstacle there. So I think more information is needed before any final decision is made, okay? So if this is like maybe something to do with your home, whether it's you know, repairs, whether it's selling it, whether it's buying a new home, I just feel like you need to research, do more uncovering of the information, okay? You know, if you're buying a house, you know, there might be, you know, something that is not noticeable on the outside, but, you know, is if there were an inspection done, right? So just, you know, do your due diligence, okay? Now, the next card out are the birds. The birds, that's communication. That is your throat chakra. Speak your truth. The clouds are there, which, you know, the birds and the clouds is kind of like your imagination. You know, bringing your thoughts into reality. That is, you know, that's how we create, right? We get inspired. So, you know, if anything, that's what I'm doing here. I'm hoping to inspire people, you know, to learn this amazing deck. You know, I mean, it just has so many, so many nuances to it. You know, each card has like a meaning that is, you know, literal and spiritual, and you know, we all can relate to these energies, right? Just in different contexts or different scenarios, okay? The mice, the whip, and the clouds, that is, you know, think about all those energies a mouse gives out, the whip gives out, and the clouds, that has that storm feel to it, right? So I would say that's kind of a brainstorming energy. But then we've got the coffin and the lady and the flowers, and that's like a recovery feel, right? Now, the scythe, the key, and the flowers, that is a solution. You know, it's recovery. It's, you know, the scythe is removal of things that don't serve you, to allow for or promote new growth, okay? So anything that's happened, you know, don't look at it as something bad. I want you to look at things in a different sense, in that it was aligning to your best benefit, okay? Just like, you know, yesterday coming home from Mount Pleasant, you know, yeah, the weather was horrible and we were driving slow, you know, and yeah, we wanted to get home, but we understood the conditions of the road were not, you know, you had to be extra cautious. It's kind of how this feels, you know. And then just up ahead, there was an accident that happened right in front of our eyes. Had we been not going the same rate of speed, we could have been involved in that. So, you know, just don't look at any of the obstacles as something that is happening against you. Look at it as something that's happening for you. Okay. Next card out is the heart. The heart are any of the things that bring you joy, any of the things that bring you passion, right? The Tower is there in the upper left, and that would be a time of the past, but it's also something very official, right? The dog is to the right of the heart, which those are your, close loved ones. So, I mean, I have such an amazing friend base and an amazing, friend, tribe of people. The bear is there with the dog that has that junior, senior feel to it. And then the Cavalier is in the center, which, that's news coming through a messenger. But it also has that chivalry feel to it. So, I feel like we need to bring back the, in the olden days, they took care, they did things from a place of honor. They did things from a place of respect, honor your loved ones, My grandfather, and when he graduated from kindergarten, he recited, it was in French because he was, came from that descent, and it was Nous promet obéissance à ceux que nous aimons, which means we promise obedience to those whom we love. And that is what this says. So, all right. My grandfather was a very wise man. All right, the upper left-hand corner is that darn snake. The snake is very wise, and especially next to the sun, that's like a positive resolution feel to it, okay? But it is very intelligent. I mean, that's wisdom. I just said that about my grandfather. Yeah, these cards just have a way of reiterating my... Once I've said something, then they come out. All right. I do see a little bit of a bumpy road, though, which that could be that, that accident that was happening in front of us. The funny thing is I had no fear. I had all the confidence and belief, faith that we were safe, we were protected, right? So if you were to adopt that mindset of being in the right place at the right time, being protected, that all things are happening to your in your best interest, I feel like that offers a feeling of peace and serenity, tranquility. It's when we get our emotions involved that things can go awry. Okay. So, just keep an equilibrium. All right. So the upper left is the snake. The far right is the dog. And then we've got the garden, and then we've got the tree. So I feel like there's healing taking place here and transformational energy. And it has this toroidal feel to it, which, our heart is a toroidal field. A tree is a toroidal field. A tornado is, So there's all kinds of toroidals, which, that's something that's making its full circuit, right? And it has that as above, so below, so, so within, so without. But it's expansion, right? It's ascension. And it's not just happening, inwardly and outwardly. It's happening in all direction. So just picture something just expanding outward, right? It's kind of like, have you ever seen the spiral, like the Fibonacci, and it just keeps expanding and expanding. That's what the energies that we're dealing with, Some people can get real, dizzy, right? So maintain as much grounding, get to, put your feet on bare grass, if you can find it underneath that snow. But I hula hoop every day. That helps me stay grounded. I enjoy it too, but I can just feel the energy. It has a way of balancing me and it feels good, you know. So if you're having a time where you feel that things are out of control, you just get to a place where you feel grounded. You know, I think, you know, if you do this too, you know, I think that kind of grounds you. I have to laugh because my cards are all laid out right now, and the card that is upside down right now is the fish. No, so think about it. You know, fish out of water feel. You know, a fish that has passed over, it, you know, floats to the top and it's upside down. But the fish also represents, you know, finance, right? So you might feel like you're underwater, but, you know, I also feel like, you know, it's not about money. It's about the things that we can do with the money, right? This relationship that people have with it, you know, it just, I feel like they're missing the point, you know. What are some of the things that bring value, you know? Certainly isn't that piece of paper, right? It's not worth the paper. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. So I feel like, you know, if we're talking about, say, investments, you know, I feel like you need to maybe invest in something that is tangible, something that is true wealth, you know, like gold, silver, platinum, you know, those type of vehicles of investment. Okay. Now the mice are there with the birds, so that has kind of like a real anxious energy to it. And once again, you know, we need to turn that into excitement, you know, turn that frown upside down, and worry, and don't worry, you know, because I feel like that's where a lot of this negative energy comes from, is the fear of what if, right? So if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are worrying, you're living too far into the future. So try to stay present. I can't emphasize that enough. You know, try to stay grounded and present. Okay. There might be some sort of a, I do see a close call there, which kind of tells me about that, you know, accident that happened right before our eyes. But I do see that there might be a canceled event or a tower type of a moment, that because there's some sort of a it's a not a good energy feel to it. The snake, the whip, and the scythe are there. So I feel like it's kind of a downfall of something, you know, that there is, you know, it could, if we're talking about investments, it could be the market is you know, taking a downturn, right? But you know, I feel like there's a rise and a fall to everything, you know, so buy low, sell high. You know, with investments, though, I feel like there's a lot of pump and dump going on, so just be mindful of that. You know, timing is everything. I do see that there is a solution to be found, and it might be something that is a fresh new idea, a fresh slate, a fresh start, maybe, you know, clearing the slate and starting new, you know, let bygones be bygones, turning over a new leaf feel to it. And I see an offer. So, you know, nothing's going to change until you make the effort, though. Okay. So you have to take action. I do see spiritual protection here. The cross is, you know, karmic in nature. But, you know, karma, I always say, you know, I am the cause and the effect of all of my life's choices, right? And there is nothing that I have done that feels that I should have never done it, because even the things that might be difficult all shaped who I am today, right? So I need for you to honor those things that have happened in the past, and not treat it as though it was, you know, a horrible event, you know? I mean, I can go back and, you know, tell you where I thought I made a wrong turn, but I feel like, you know, I'm right where I need to be. You know, that's kind of spirit saying you are exactly where you need to be, okay? What else do I see? Oh, I feel a little bit of quiet energy. You know how there's that calm before the storm feel, you know, and if we get worked up, you know, you could make that into an absolute, you know, all out travesty feel. But I feel like if you were to stay low, stay calm, stay pleasant, stay kind, you know, I feel like, you know, if there is a storm going on, it'll kind of pass you by, you know, kind of like the tornado, you know, in the center of that tornado, it's very calm, right? So stay calm, stay grounded, stay centered. And on that note, I'm going to close off for today. I hope you have a blessed week. And if you'd like a more personal reading, please feel free to reach out to me. And until next week, take care. Bye now.